We go forever and ever, yeah. You know that I'm much upset, yeah. You wish that you can do better, no, no, won't let her, We go forever and ever, yeah. I go and create the pressure, yeah. You wish that you can do better, You wish that you can do better, yeah, yeah. Ooh. We go forever and ever. We go forever and ever.
Welcome everyone to Coaching in Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I'll be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be talking about how to manifest things into your life. And if you're living a life right now that you're struggling, that you're not happy with, that you think that can't change, then this episode is going to be for you. I know so many people who come to work with me. One of the first conversations that we do in our consultation is that I know I can do more, Michael, but I don't know why I'm not doing more. And we have to begin that work, right? And whether you get coaching with me, you get coaching with another coach, like the one I'm going to be bringing on today. She's fabulous, number one. And number two, she's going to be able to help you get from your dark places in your life to a brighter future. And it's so important that we have people here on Coaching in Session that is going to help us get to a better mindset, get to a better life, because the goal here at Rearden Concepts is to help 2 billion people. And that's a lot of people. I know I can't do it by myself. Now, there's an aspect that we can help a person and that person helps another person. But when you create a team, right, that team has one mission, right? I'm going to help someone in the world, and I'm going to help a group of people in the world, and then I'm going to help the whole entire world. And it's a daunting task if you did it by yourself. But if you have belief, and if you ask, and if you have the courage to not accept your current circumstances, then you can really make some good changes in your life. We're going to be talking about many different things in this episode. We're going to be talking about spirituality, the subconscious mind. We're going to be talking about hardships in our life. We're going to be talking about turning points that can change your whole entire life. It might be difficult for some people, especially if they're in a rough spot right now. And you might know someone who's going through a rough spot in their life right now. And if they are going through a rough spot in their life, I want you just to pass them this episode. Just slide it through. Just send it through their text messages or their DMs on their socials. And say, I would like for you to watch this, and I would like to talk to you about this when the episode is through. Because when they listen to this episode, they're going to learn many different things. Number one, that the current situation that they're in can be fixed, or it can be made better. Now, we think, oh, it's the end of the world. Something happened to me in my life. Something didn't go my way. And it's very easy to get into this mindset, into this way of thinking. We need to start to manifest something different into our life. We need to manifest something more. How can we be more? How can we make some changes today? And my guest today, Cooper Gillespie, we're going to be talking about spirituality, business, and the aspect of manifesting our most desired life. Because what we have in our life is going to be a proponent of who we are and what we do. And if you're not doing the right things, then we need to learn how to do those right things. So let's get into that interview with Cooper and start to learn what things we need to do in our life. Welcome, Cooper Gillespie, to Coaching in Session. How are you doing today?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And I want to first say, I love your energy. You are just fantastic. You are a breath of fresh air, and you're everything that we're going to be talking about in this episode. And you're going to be a great guest. I already see it.
So, thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. So today's episode could be a lot of fun because I'm bringing you on as a spiritual business and manifestation mentor. And that is a mouthful. All right. I had to say it like 50 times before we started the record button, because if I didn't, I would have got it wrong. And it's so important that we get it right, because you do some important work and we need people to understand what the work you do. So without me telling your whole biography, in your own words, tell the people who you are, what you do, and how you help.
Yeah. So I'm Cooper Gillespie, and I started off on this journey of personal development. Like so many other people in this world, I had a very dark night of the soul, and it was in a really dark place. And I had a sort of, if you want to call it a quote unquote religious experience, it was a spiritual awakening, whatever you want to call it. About now it's been, oh man, how long ago is that? It's about almost 15 years. And what had happened was I was in a really depressed place. My mom asked me if I wanted to go on a cruise. And it was uncharacteristic because my mom and I have not historically had like the super close relationship that you think of with mothers and daughters. And I did want to go on a cruise. And then she said, it's an Abraham cruise. Do you know who Abraham is? And I was like, no. And she proceeded to explain Abraham Hicks to me, which I don't know if you know Abraham Hicks, but essentially Abraham Hicks is this spiritual teacher, like this primordial being that's channeled through this lady named Esther Hicks. And when I heard that, I was like, oh, heck no, that is not for me. That sounds like some weird hippie stuff. I do not want, never mind. I don't want to go on the cruise that bad. And my mom was like, listen, you only have to go to one Abraham event. And then if you hate it, you don't have to go to any more and you can just enjoy the cruise. And I thought that that was something that I could live with. So I was like, okay, I think I could live with that. So I went on that cruise and I'm so happy that I accepted my mom's invitation to that, because I did go to that first Abraham event and they got me. They got me right away. I heard a message that I had never heard before in my life. At this point, I was in my early 30s. And the message was, you have the power to create your life. May sound super simple to some of your listeners out there, like, duh, of course you do. I literally did not know that until that day. I had no idea that I literally was creating all the crap in my life. I was emotionally reacting to people, to situations, to everything, instead of actually consciously creating what I wanted in my life. And when I heard that message of personal empowerment, I got super turned on by it. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? That means I can make any life I want for myself. Oh my, like my mind was blown. So I got really excited. I went down the rabbit hole, started studying everything I could about manifestation. And of course, that was my gateway drug in the spiritual world. Some people say it's crystals, some people say it's Reiki, some people say it's yoga. For me, it was this experience of that I could manifest my life, if you want to call it that, manifestation, creating, whatever. And so I wanted to tell everyone that I knew that they had the power too. I got so excited. So I started sharing. And some people were like, whoa, what happened to you on that cruise? But other people were like, really? Oh, tell me more. And so I basically began sort of coaching people. I didn't know that coaching was even a job that you could have, but basically helping people in my immediate vicinity, friends and family and stuff, create their lives, what they wanted in their lives. And what I found was that I could get people to a certain level. We could discover that they had a block, or that they had a negative, a bad habit, or were stuck in some way. But then I didn't really know how to get them beyond that. It's like we could identify what the issue was, but law of attraction, which is what I was primarily working with at the time, really only takes you so far. And so then I discovered, whoa, I need way more tools. And so I began amassing my coaching toolbox, all the different tools that I use now with my clients, everything from, neuro-linguistic programming to hypnotherapy to Kundalini yoga and breathwork and meditation and Reiki. Like I have a big toolbox now of things to help people actually bust through the blocks that are keeping them stuck. And then I discovered, oh, you could actually be a coach for a job. Which when I was a kid, it was like, oh, you get to be a doctor, a lawyer, or a nurse. Pick one, maybe if you were like, really, really out there, you could be like a lobbyist in the state capitol or something like that. But there was no idea that you could be something like a coach for people. And so that's how I when I figured that out, I was like, yes, please. This is what I love to do. I want to help people like unleash their unlimited potential. And that's how I started coaching. So that was a very long answer to your question.
Well, we love answers because they go in depth and they tell so much about the individual, because I know as a coach that I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. And I have a very militant type of personality. I don't sugarcoat things with my clients. It's going to be the hard truth and nothing but the truth. So if you want someone to baby you and to coddle you, I'm not the person. Now, we just have different personalities as people, and that's why it's so important for people to do their due diligence and find the coach that's going to work for you. Find the coach who's going to be exuberant, have the same energy that when you talk to them, you feel fulfilled. You feel good after the conversation, and that should come natural. It shouldn't just become part of the conversation. Like, okay, that was a good coaching session. It's like if you spend time with a person, whether it be family member or friend, if you spend time with someone, you should feel like this was good for me. Not like, oh my God, I got to do that. And I know sometimes around the holidays times, we hang around family members who are draining. And we're like, hi, I'm glad that's only once a year or 2 times a year. But when you have a coach, every single session is a moment where you can refuel, restock, and you're ready for even more. You get that motivation, you get that determination to keep on pushing. So it's important that we have different coaches with different energies, different life, because if everyone was just like me, what is going to be the point of coaching in session? Coaching in session is called coaching in session because I bring on other coaches and they talk about their career. They talk about their profession. They talk about how they can help you. When I was going through my journey of life and I hit that rough patch, I did it by myself and it was so difficult. I didn't learn about coaching until after I got through it. And then I got through it and I was like, man, I could have saved 2 years of my life by just getting a coach. And then even after that, I was still resistant. I'm still doing things by myself. It's like I'm not learning. And then I said, you know what? Let me get a business coach because I had started the business. I had nothing in my brain about business. Yes, I knew about finances and accounting and all that stuff, but business is a different type of beast. So I said, let me get a business coach. And I got a business coach, and it was the best thing for me because it allowed me to see all my blind spots. It helped fill in the gaps where I needed to learn about business and how to be a good businessman, good leader, good boss, all of that. It stems from asking for help. And I think many people, they have a hard time asking for help. What is your perception on people trying to walk the path alone instead of looking for someone to get some assistance and some help with?
Yeah, I think that certainly in America, there's this archetype of, the cowboy out on the range by himself, just him and his horse or something. It's like baked into the mythos of our national consciousness. And to ask for help is just, it kind of goes against like that idea that you got to strike out and make something of yourself by yourself. So it can be really challenging just from a cultural point of view, at least in this country, to admit I need some help. And I think that it's so important to normalize that because a rising tide lifts all ships. There's that saying, which is really true. When we all come together and all help each other, we can create so much more for everyone than when we're trying to just figure it out ourselves. It just, I, like you, figured a lot of it out myself when I got started. And I could have saved years years and like thousands of dollars if I just would have hired a coach to help me. And like you say, well, like with the business coaching, we weren't born knowing how to market in the online space, right? That's something that you have to learn how to do. And there's different ways to learn how to do it. So it is really important to find someone that you really resonate with, because I think in this space, there's so many gurus that are going to tell you, this is how you have to do it. And there's a million ways to make $1 million. I really think that. And I think that the most important thing and the way that you're going to have a lot of success in your business is if you build it in a way that feels good to you, that feels sustainable and aligned for you. Just because they made $1 million doing it one way doesn't mean that's going to work for you if it doesn't feel good to you. So you also have to trust yourself.
I completely agree with that. And for me, what I do with my business is I look at my business as, would I purchase this? Would I support this? And if I don't support it, if I won't purchase it, then it's like I'm doing something that I don't even enjoy. And I have to listen to every episode of the podcast. I have to work with all the clients. I have to be in charge of all the programs and all the content going out. And it's a lot. But at the same time, I give my stamp of approval. So things are not just going out willy-nilly. And I'm like, well, this is not us. If you take the podcast and you go to each podcast and you start snippeting things, of course, you could put things out of context. But most of the time, everything is politically correct, because I understand that when a person's trying to be vulnerable and step into a place of healing and of growth and empowerment and personal development, they need someone who's going to be there to support them, not ridicule them. I am militant, but at the same time, I don't purposely put people down. I don't believe that another human should just belittle someone. Only time you should be looking at someone, if they are beneath you or below you or on the ground, is to help them up. That's my belief. I don't want to just see people below me suffering and me not doing anything. And so that's why we have the podcast. That's why we have all the personal development blogs, because there is a financial investment with coaching. And I know not everyone is able to do it. So that's why I do bring on coaches, and we have the podcast so people can get their personal development fix, and then they can start to save. They can start to think about the future. And I've had clients who don't make much or who are struggling with finances. They will save for a whole entire year. just to work with me for 1 month. That right there, it says something not about that individual, but also about what we're doing here at Rearden Concepts, because we are putting out something that people believe in and that people know that it's going to be an investment in. And then also having other wonderful coaches like you, Cooper, come on and then say what they do and how they can help. And then, of course, we create that ripple effect and helping everyone, helping more, because I can only help a certain amount of people in the world because I'm only one person. But if I bring on other people and we create that ripple effect, we can do so much more. And I find that to be extremely empowering. What is your take on trying to save the world alone?
Yeah, I don't think you can do it. I mean,
Very
I guess
difficult.
there's that parable of the man picking up the starfish on the beach,
I
and
love
someone
that.
asks him what he's doing, and he says, "I'm trying to save the starfish," and they say, "Well, what? That's not going to make a difference." And he's like, "Well, it makes a difference to that one." So I think not that we save people, but I think that you can help as many people as you can help. But I love that you also speak about the fact that it's so important to go out there and be authentically you, because the people, my clients like me, they might not like that coach down the street, and vice versa. That coach down the street's clients, maybe they just don't resonate with me. I know, like, there's coaches that I really resonate with that teach the same thing as a different coach that I just don't resonate with. It's like, I don't know why that is. So it's really important for everyone to show up and do the work that they feel driven to do from a purpose standpoint, because there's more than enough for everyone to have more than enough. There's more than enough people that are looking for light and looking to get unstuck. If there's any baby coaches out there listening, show up and shine your light, because I know that sometimes I coach new coaches who are worried that there's so many other people out there doing it. Why should I even, start? And it's because there's not you doing it. And, your people are going to need to hear the message from you, not from me. Right. So yeah, we all need to show up if we feel called to, and shine our light. And I also love that you talk about having people feel good after our session and feel good. And, even if you're giving the straight talk, I teach that a lot to my newer coaches, because when I was taught to do sales calls, whatever you want to call them, discovery calls, sales calls, it was so much about closing the person on the other end. And that just never quite felt right to me. I always teach that when you get on a call with someone, it should be from a place of service, and they should feel good and empowered, regardless of if they can invest in your program at the moment. They should have a good feeling and feel like they have tangible steps that they could go do if they wanted to try to do it by themselves. But what I found is sometimes it's just not the right time, or sometimes they just don't have the money. Like you said, like, you have people that have saved a whole year to work for you. And when it is the right time, if they leave the call feeling good about themselves, feeling empowered, feeling like you gave them real value, that when it is the right time or they do have the money, they will come back and work with you. So I definitely, that is something I really like to teach, because I don't like the whole close people mentality, because it doesn't feel very heart-centered to me. And I think when you lead from the heart, you have a much better experience for yourself and for the people that you're trying to serve, or serving.
Yeah. And when you're just trying to make a buck, it's not helping maybe the person, right? Because you're only worried about yourself. How can I be better? How can I get more money? Versus this person has some problems and some issues and some dilemmas, some traumas, whatever they have. I can help them. I know I can help them. So let me help them whichever way I can. I think that's more important, because if you do that, then that person is going to see value in you. And it's so important to build value. There's something that I didn't do in the beginning of my business until I got a business coach, because I thought, oh, you just start a business and people come flocking. I didn't create any value. And so I had to begin to create more value. And I learned that the content that you put out, it has to be quality, and it has to be something that you would want to watch, number one, too, but then something that people are going to look at and say, okay, I learned something from this, and that's going to create the value. And you said something early on that I want to touch base on. You said that your mom dragged you to this cruise. You were 30, but there's always a story before that. It's always a tipping point. And I always say that a book that changed your life is not the book that changed your life. It's every book that was subsequent to that book that changed your life. So what was your journey like before you got to that cruise? Because when you saw Abraham and he was at tipping point for you, what was your 20s like? Were you in college? Were you studying personal development, doing yoga, things like that? Or was it something like you were just doing the American dream and all of a sudden you went on this cruise and then boom, voila.
Oh man. All right. Well, if you really want to know, So I did go to college. I went to a women's college and got my degree. And I always wanted to be a performer. I moved to Los Angeles. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest area, and I was like, I need to see the sun. So I left pretty much as soon as I could. Moved to Los Angeles and formed a band, got married to one of the guys in the band. And we had a great time. We toured all over. We got a record deal. It was my dream. It was so fun. It was so fun. And then, like every band story, it all went to hell. The band broke up, the marriage broke up, and I had never failed before. And no one had ever taught me. I was a very high achiever. I went to a Seven Sisters college. I got straight A's. I was like Miss High Achiever. And no one ever told me it was okay to fail. No one ever explained that failing is a part of success. And so when I failed so hard, when my livelihood, my dream, my marriage, and everything crashed, I did not know how to have that experience. I took it so much like it was a bad thing, like a personal failure, and it rocked my world in a really big way. So from that point, I ended up just going. I got very, very depressed. I started doing hard drugs. I had never done hard drugs before. I was just in a swirl of bad, pretty much. And I didn't see a way out. I was literally killing myself. I had a doctor tell me, you have got to stop doing drugs or you're going to die. Like, you cannot do anymore. And I was like, I don't care. I went out and did drugs that night. That was a couple of weeks before my mom took me on that cruise, which is amazing. And after that cruise, I never did drugs again. And it totally, totally changed my life. I'm not saying that Abraham's going to heal anyone else's drug addiction or depression, or panic disorder. I had panic disorder too. But pretty much after that, I was healed, because for me personally, all of that stuff in my life was a symptom of feeling totally disempowered, of feeling very hopeless and despairing. And I didn't see a way out of it until that moment when I had that awakening and I understood that I could create whatever life I wanted for myself. Once I understood that, I didn't need, that stuff anymore. So that's the hardcore story before the cruise.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important to show that to individuals, because I think sometimes people, they see someone's life and they're like, oh, you had it perfect, you had it so good, but you don't know the person's history, their past, their hardships. And a hardship that might be traumatic to you might not be traumatic to them, because they have a different level of, I guess you could say, resistance to that type of negativity. But for you were going on, things were going good, and then you had your first taste of failure. And it's something that we all have to experience at some point in our life, where we just fail, and we fail big. A lot of people, when they get to that point, that trauma or that negativity or that deep depression, they want to give up. They want to just say, you know what? I'm not going to move. I'm just going to stay in bed. I'm going to order food, my DoorDash or my Favor, whatever food service you use, they're going to bring it to you.
Totally.
And
I didn't get out of bed for at least a year one time.
so it has become so easy not to take action. It has become simple to stay indoors and to live life. I mean, the pandemic showed it's possible. You don't even have to go to work. We could do everything virtually. So a lot of people, they became recluse, they became hermits, and they started to take their light, the light that you were talking about, and they put it under that bushel, and they decided not to let it shine. So we need to understand that we have that potential. We have the ability to make more in our life, but sometimes we have to do that hard work. And coaching can be hard work, because you have to learn about yourself, and you might learn some truths about yourself that you don't want to know. It's very easy not to take action, but when you're made aware of your, I don't want to say imperfections, but I'm going to say areas in your life that you can make improvements on, I think that's going to lead you to a better place. But a lot of times people, they choose to avoid personally developing themselves and understanding their human potential. And that is, they can do anything. But it's just they have that mindset that they can't do it, or that they have a low self-esteem. And I mean, if we look at just America, 2 out of 3 Americans have low self-esteem. So they're in that mindset already that they can't do something, or that they don't deserve something. What do you do, and how do you help people who have that low self-esteem, that low self-worth in themselves, and that they believe in scarcity and that things are not going to go their way, even if they try.
Yeah, well, I one of the first things I talk with my clients about is an NLP concept of cause versus effect, which is, you are at cause, you are the at cause for everything in your life, or you can be at effect of it and have, do you want to have reasons or do you want to have results? If you want to have all the reasons why you can't have the thing you want to have, then you're living at effect of things and you're not being the creator of your experience. The truth is you are the creator of all of that. And you can, and I want to make something very clear here, because as a manifestation coach, I think there's a lot of manifestation coaches out there who weaponize this idea and say things like, well, if bad stuff happened to you, it's because you were low vibe or thinking negative thoughts or whatever. And I think that's a load of crap. I think that there's an X factor in life where bad crap happens and we don't know why, right? So knowing that it's not your fault, knowing that, like, things like racism, things like sexism, things like systemic injustice, all of these things, they're not your fault. You didn't ask for them. It's not some past life thing that your soul came here to experience. That's a bunch of bullshit. But what you can do from there is, okay, this is my experience. This is what's happened. Now, how can I move forward in power? How can I move forward in my power? Yeah, I've got this stuff going on. Yeah, right. But I'm not going to use that as the reason why I can't do things. Instead, I'm going to use it as the reason why I have to do that thing. So we have that conversation pretty much right off the bat. And if someone won't agree to be at cause for their life and for their results, then I can't really work with them, because until they decide that they are ready to be at cause and to actually be the creator of their life, there's not a lot that we can do. Right? I mean, there's just not. And, low self-esteem, all of that comes, we could go into the whole subconscious, how we take in all this programming from our society, from our parents, from teachers, from whoever. And yeah, that may be some work that has to be done, where we do hypnotherapy or we do some different techniques to actually transmute that into something positive and bust through those blocks. So I'm not saying that you don't get to have any blocks or issues. Of course not. What I am saying is that when we work together, you've got to at least be willing to be at cause, at least during the time that we're working together. Then afterwards, if you want to go back to blaming everyone and everything, fine. But while we're working together, you need to decide you're going to stop blaming everything and everyone and actually start creating what you want in your life.
We talked about it just briefly. We talked about the law of affirmation, where if we just speak it into existence, it becomes reality. What level of that is correct and what level of that is incorrect when we are talking to clients, to people, in the sense of how we speak to ourselves, or while they're coaching with us, they're in a better state of mind? How important is that in the whole personal development process?
Oh, really important. Everyone should go read Don Miguel Ruiz's The Four Agreements, because in there he talks about how your words, cast spells. You can do good magic or bad magic based on the words you use. And he uses an example of when you're a kid and say you got up in front of the class when you were 6 years old and your teacher told you that you were a crappy presenter, and then like literally the rest of your life you are afraid to get up in public speak. That teacher did bad magic on you with their words, right? Same when someone, encourages you or tells you encouraging, empowering things, that can be doing good with your words. So the words that you use, that you speak into existence, are so important. However, I will add a caveat and say that affirmations alone, while yes, they can work, I think they can often take the long way to work, because say you are affirming every day, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy, I am wealthy. But your subconscious mind is like, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not, no, you're not. It's going to be an inside battle, and it's going to be really challenging to actually believe you are wealthy. And instead, it's going to set up this internal struggle in you where you're trying to affirm, and your subconscious mind is just like, no, sorry, no, you're not. So in that instance, if you can't believe it yet, then I really encourage you to find a coach who can help you reprogram your subconscious through different techniques, whether it's NLP or hypnotherapy, or there's a lot of different ways to do it, where you can actually get rid of that block so that you can start believing the affirmations. Otherwise, it's just going to be it can be a really long slog to actually get to the point where you believe the affirmation if your subconscious doesn't believe it.
Yeah, I do a lot of subconscious work, because what I do is a mindset aspect of everything. We can tell ourselves that we can be wealthy, and our subconscious mind is going to say, Okay, sure. You said that last year and you're still not wealthy. And it just learns from our behaviors or our actions or what's happening in our life. So if we tell ourselves something, even if we say it 100 times a day and it's not happening in our life, then our subconscious mind already knows the truth. We can lie to our conscious mind as much as you want, but our subconscious mind is always going to know the truth. And we do have to understand the difference between the two. When you are working with someone, I know you gave some examples of how to dive into the subconscious mind, but we're going down this rabbit hole whether you like it or not. We are going to
Yeah.
talk about the subconscious mind and how to begin to change it step by step. And we're not going to give it too many steps. We're going to just say maybe 3, 4 max. Okay. What are going to be the 3 or 4 most important things to begin to change the subconscious mind?
So if you can find a coach where you can who does subconscious work, I highly, highly recommend it. However, if you don't have the money for a coach or you just can't find one right now, then some things that you could start to do for yourself are one powerful thing I like to have clients do is self-hypnosis. So literally scripting out, say you have the goals you want to have for your year. And we could talk about how you're supposed to set goals. You want to set goals that are specific and tangible, right? So, and measured. So by this date, I will have done this. And here's why I will have done this. And even backward plan, like, okay, well, what's the next thing before that I need to have done? Okay, what's the next thing before that? So that you actually get a really clear picture of how this goal could happen. Caveat to that is you can't get attached to that because the universe is going to make it way cooler than you could have thought of, but you want to at least kind of put the energy out there. Right. And then, so you could write it all out, everything that you're going to experience, how it's going to be, how you're going to feel. That's the most important thing. You want to really infuse it with those feelings. And then you could literally take your phone and speak it into your voice note. If you get fancy and GarageBand or one of those kind of programs, you could add some, put it in your computer and add some music behind it. And then literally listen to that hypnosis that you created for yourself pretty much every night right before you go to sleep. That's a really powerful thing to do. The time right before you go to sleep and right when you wake up is so great for reprogramming your subconscious because you're in the hypnotic state already. So that's one thing I could recommend people do if they don't have money yet to work with a coach. That could be a really, really effective practice. Some other things to do are just, my first thing that I recommend everyone do is to meditate. And you might say, well, how does that help you reprogram your subconscious? And I think what meditation does is it helps you get in touch with you and start actually being able to listen to you, because I think a lot of people have blocks they don't even know that they have. And it's because they're not in touch with what's really going on in their minds. And so just taking that moment to get still with yourself and really listen inside will help you understand where blocks are. Because pretty much if you look out at your life and there's things that you don't like that you would like, then there's probably a block that's keeping you from having it, right? So just getting mindful and being able to recognize those things can be hugely valuable. Those are probably my top 2 things.
Okay, yeah, no, those are very helpful because I know people are going to be thinking about, well, how can it change the subconscious mind? And I always like to make it very simple for when people are listening to this, so they're not like just taking notes and they don't get any answers. So one of the I know early on there probably says subconscious mind need to change. How then we give them the answer just 10 minutes later. So they're like, I got everything I need from this one episode. So
Yeah.
important for that too. I agree with the morning process or the evening process, just putting your state or your mind in a certain state. What I did was I made a playlist of motivational speeches that I resonated with. Number one, it's not just any motivational speech. Okay. For example, if you just go to Motivation Emotions, the video series we have here, if you don't resonate with that episode, do not listen to it in the evening or in the morning. It's not going to help you. You have to resonate with it. It has to mean something to you. So I found, I think, maybe like 18 different speakers that I would listen to on shuffle. And I have an Alexa device. So in the morning, I would have my alarm ring and she automatically starts playing the music instead of an alarm. So it was like, I think at 4:30 in the morning, that's when I started this process. It was like 4:30 in the morning. At 5 o'clock, I would go to the gym. For the 30 minutes from 4:30 to 5 o'clock, I would just listen to motivational speeches. And what that did was it started to get me in a better state of mind, because my mind before that, it was not in a good place. And that's because I was going through some grief and some trauma. And I had a good mindset. I've been practicing meditation and yoga since I was like 21. When I was 28, I was dealing with all of this hardship because in life, you don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes you get good days and sometimes you're going to get a load of crap. And I got a load of crap when I was 28. It was a lot of changing. It was very scary. It was a lot of fear in my life. And I had to overcome that and I had to figure out how to do it. And if I had a coach, I would have got there a lot quicker. But I did it by myself. And I don't want people to go through that. And that's why I do some of the work that I do today, because I was literally skipping work. And I was a teacher at the time. I was skipping work and I
I
was
used to be a
going,
teacher too.
okay, we could definitely talk about that. And
Yeah.
I went into the basement of my local library, and that's where they kept all the personal development books. I don't know why I had to be in the basement, but it was. And so I go in the basement and I'm on the floor just pulling out books and just having a load of books on the floor. I'm just reading book after book, trying to find the answer. And I think I read in the time of 2 months, probably 13 books, something like that, just trying to find the answer. How can I get out of this? And it was a book by Daphne Rose, 10 Things to Do. I think it's 10 or 12 things to do when your life falls apart. And I read that book and I was like, this is the answer. But again, just how you were when you're 30 and you went into cruise, that book wasn't the tipping point. It was just a book that tipped everything over. So all the books that I read subsequent to that book helped me get to that way of thinking. And what I had to do was I had to face my fears. I had to face my inner demons. And it's very scary and it's very difficult and it's challenging if you don't have anyone on your side, because you're always going to be pulled into, but what if I fail? What if I can't? And that is such a powerful thought. And if we tell ourselves that constantly and frequently, we are going to become immobilized. We're going to become frozen, right? Like we're going to freeze. So we have to get unfrozen. We have to face that fear. How do you help people face fears in their life and to go after more, I guess you can say, triumph and glory, rather than just looking at the fear as the premise to what is going to be the result if they push more?
Well, I love that you bring that up. And I think if you think about your own life, probably you'd agree with me. I think that some of the times when I've grown the most as a human have been those times that were hard or that I failed hard. And if you find the lesson, if you can look for the lesson, then you never fail, right? You always are winning because you're growing, right? I think it's if you don't learn the lesson and you keep doing the same thing, well, then we got an issue. And so there is no failure when you look at it like that. There is only feedback of, yes, this is working, or whoa, that is not working, right? So I encourage that reframe with people when they're afraid. It's like, listen, the only way you can actually fail is by not taking the risk and by not learning the lesson. But if you go, I mean, gosh, we're here for such a short period of time, may as well taste all the deliciousness a life has to offer, including the stuff that's like painful and like hard. Like that's when we really grow. And if you at the end of your life, sometimes I will take people through that end of life meditation where they go and they're on their deathbed and they look back at their life, and it's like, it's a little, some people think it's a little macabre, but it's very powerful, because it's like, listen, you're at a point here, you have a decision to make when you are on that deathbed. Do you want to look back and say, hell yes, I freaking went for it. I did it. I did life and it was rad. Even there were challenges and hard times, I played full out. Or do you want to look back and go, I wish I would have done that. I wish I would have done that. Darn, I never did that thing. And you hear stories about people at the end of life on their deathbeds who have stories like that. I wish I would have done this thing. And I think when people go through that meditation, they realize, whoa, I'm gonna do life because I don't want that. I don't want that situation. Then we take them through where they have done the thing and they're looking back at their life and they get to have that feeling of like, yeah, I freaking did it. So it's like you first do the meditation where they didn't do it, they have that experience. And then we go, okay, now we're going to do it where you did do it. And that's a powerful motivator for people.
When you just use like life and death, I think it can really spark something in people, because everyone wants to live a good life, but they're not willing to do the things that make a good life. And so they have all these regrets because they don't take actions. They don't ask the girl out. They don't ask the guy out. They don't go on the cruise that can change everything, because they have a belief. They have a certain way of thinking at this moment that might not be how they should be thinking. And you said something early on that sometimes we ask for things in the world, and it's not exactly like this, but sometimes we ask for things and we don't get them. But then what we get after that is even better than what we thought. we might think like, okay, I want to do this. It doesn't happen. And I want you to understand that if something doesn't happen in your life, you have something more coming your way. It's just not there for you, whether it's because your brain knows it or the universe knows it. I mean, we can look at all the different aspects, but if something doesn't go your way, understand that there's something more for you. Just give yourself that idea, and you're going to see that something more comes your way. Because if you don't think that and you're just like, oh man, I was hoping that this would happen. I would hoping they would say yes and things like that. And then if they did say yes, what would happen, right? Maybe you would be in a relationship that was toxic, that wasn't nurturing, and you have respect and love in it. So maybe you were just making room for the next person that was going to be in your life that was going to give you all that fulfillment that you were looking for, that you thought this one person would give. Love is one of those things that we can talk about. It's going to be, we think we know love, right? Because we see it around us and we're like, okay, well, this is that. And it could be a good thing, but then it could be one of the most heartbreaking things that we'll have to go through, right? Divorce or separation or even a loss of a loved one. So when we get to that deathbed, we are going to regret the things that we didn't do rather than the things that we did. Understand that there's going to be a risk tolerance with age. You shouldn't bet it all on black if you're 75, right? That would probably be a bad idea. But if you're 20 and you lost it all, you can build again. Understand that your age is just a number, but we can keep on growing. And I know you and I, we come from different backgrounds. For me, I was a teacher. I started off teaching. I taught music special ed. And I was able to transition into coaching. But even before I was a teacher, I was doing accounting and finance. So my path, I had a path. I thought I had a path, right? I'm going down this path. This is what I'm going to do. I'm doing it. All right. Switching it up. Switched it up. This is what I'm doing. All right. I love it. Switching it up again. So you go through these learning experiences in your life. You say, okay, this is good for me. I like this. But then maybe later down the road, you make some changes. And that's life. You learn, you grow, you adjust. And I want to hear your teaching experience because you said you were a teacher, and I want to know what you taught and if you liked it or not.
Yeah. So I love that you bring up it's okay to pivot and change, because I think that's a hard thing for people. I've always been of the mentality that you take the first step on the path that you can see toward what you think you want. And then new steps appear as you take that step, and who knows where it's going to lead. That's one of the fun things about life. I never could have envisioned my life would be like this, like 20 years ago. No way. Even 10 years ago. So yeah, I taught ninth grade English. I love, well, I mean, we could do a whole episode on teaching. I loved a lot about teaching. I loved the kids. I really did. That's such a fun, beautiful age because they're little, but they're big, they're becoming who they're going to be. Of course, I'm really passionate about literature and English and grammar and all that. So it's like perfect for me in so many ways. I found working within the public school system challenging because personally, this is just my personal opinion, I feel like so much of it is motivated by money. And that was very disheartening to me.
Mm-hmm.
And felt very frustrating. And it felt like I was going to be a job where I was going to be frustrated every day. I looked forward, and like we were talking about, and I just go, I can't serve in this way. There's a better way for me to serve for me and for everyone involved, because it just felt like I didn't want to be frustrated every day, to be quite honest, or to be just upset every day. And it wasn't the kids that were frustrating and upsetting, so yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I was in the public school system too. I love the kids. I love going into work. It's just politics. I would say the politics of school and testing and all that.
Yeah.
It's a mess right now, and I mean it has gotten worse since I've been out. And I'm not sure when you got out, but like if you look at the pandemic and you had distance learning and all that stuff, and then people want to homeschool because all these opinions are being taught in school and they're going away from the curriculum. I mean, we can go down a rabbit hole there too. But what I want people to understand is that you can have great teachers and they leave because they see that they can make a bigger difference somewhere else. And that's what you're doing. You're making a bigger difference. And I knew I could help more people than just my district. And I'm not saying that if I help 500 students a year or 5,000 students a year, am I really making the difference that I want to in the world, the impact that I wanted to create? And I did the math and it wasn't the number I wanted. I wanted a way bigger number. And I said, how can I do that number? And that's when I started to think about it. And I would still go to schools and do workshops and seminars. And I mean, if you are a principal listening to this, reach out to me. I'll do it pro bono because that's how much I love it. That's how much I understand that the next generation coming up should be equipped and they shouldn't be going into the world broken. We don't learn, as you said earlier, like we don't learn about failure. We don't learn about trauma and grief and dealing with loss. We have to learn that the hard way. We have to go through it. We are just not ready by the time we hit 18, and people can either go off to do a job or career, or they can go off to college. So we are not even equipped by the time we leave school. What can we do to help equip the young generation? I know some of the work you do helps them, right? And it might not be directing at them saying, all right, I work with 19-year-olds who are trying to get their life together, right? Who need to step into the power. I know it's not that. But if you had to talk to your 19-year-old self, what is something you would say to yourself?
Start meditating. In fact, when I was a teacher, we'd have meditation Monday, and where the kids would, for a period of time, it was short, like 5 minutes or something, but to dim the lights. Everyone has to be silent, even if they're not really meditating, but they got to just sit there and trying to teach mindfulness, because especially as a teen, but gosh, as a young person, learning to be mindful and learning to tune into your higher self is just so important. And that one skill, when you're a teen, everything's so like reactionary, and then there's high drama, there's so many emotions, and being able to slow down and being able to look at the bigger human drama, not just your little human drama, right, is so valuable. And I think that the way that you do that is through mindfulness or if you're into meditation, but it could just be mindfulness practice, even, just like you wouldn't necessarily consider it meditation, but being, mindful of how your feet feel on the ground, or just really getting present. Yeah, that'd be my number one advice.
Mhm. I believe I started meditating when I was 18. So I was right after. And I mean, even though I had meditation and I had a good mindset and I was doing all the work, I still faced some roadblocks, I guess you can say, because you can become aware of your situations and you can learn to live in the moment and be present. But there's going to be certain things that you're just not equipped for. And that's why having a mentor, having a coach, having someone on your side to help walk with you is so important, because if you fall by yourself, you have to get up by yourself. And sometimes you're going to fall just enough and you're like, what's the point, right? And we can't get to that mindset. We have to stay positive. But if you're walking with someone and you fall, especially a coach, a mentor, someone who's there to help you and guide you, they're going to look at you and they're going to give you a hand, and they're going to say, let's keep going, get up, right? That's so beneficial for the person, because if we look at our youth now, they don't have that type of support. They're looking for someone to emulate or a role model, but they don't have it. So they look on sitcoms, they look on TV, and they say, well, this is what I have to do. But they need more people like you, the good teachers that care about them, that want them. But those teachers are leaving. I mean, right now, there's a deepening teacher shortage because a lot of the good teachers are leaving. Now that good teachers are leaving, where can the kids get a good education, a good foundation? Well, if parents are not there, because parents have to work 2 jobs or 3 jobs just to make ends meet in this economy, then we need to figure out how they can get some other resources. And I believe that you're going to need some type of coach, some type of mentor that's going to help you along the way. Because if you're just going to continue with the mindset that you were given from a young age, and you hit the nail on the head, you said, whether it's from your teachers, your parents, your friends, right? That type of mindset, right? That limiting type of belief, you're going to carry it for a very long time. And we have to make sure that you don't carry something that's going to weigh you down, that's going to be negative, that's going to stop you from being more, from attaining that power, to stepping into your power. It's so important. Again, the work that you do. You and I, we could talk all day about coaching and teaching and about past and trauma and subconscious mind. What I want from you right now is to give us some final words, and then I want you to tell the audience where they can find you.
Yeah, my final words are, man, create your hell yes life. Create a life that you can't wait to wake up to. Don't spend a minute, not loving your life, because it's precious. So that's my advice. And if you feel like you need help doing that, definitely find a coach to help you, because that's what we're here to do. And you can find me at Instagram. I'm always on the gram at Cooper Gillespie or on my website, coopergillespie.com.
Perfect. And I'll put all of those links in the description box below so people can easily find you, follow you on Instagram. I'm sure the content she's putting out there is going to be phenomenal, and she's going to be there to inspire you and motivate you. If you're struggling in your life right now, understand that there's going to be help on the other side. Don't walk this path alone, because there's always going to be someone who sees you struggling and wants to help you, but you do have to ask for that help. Because if we're just going up to every person we see that needs help, I'm going to help you. And the person's like, well, I don't want your help, right? So you have to ask first, right? The power of asking. Go to Instagram, send Cooper a message and ask her for some help. Ask her for some assistance. Ask her for some guidance. And you're going to find that this might be the best choice you make today. So I want to thank you so much, Cooper Gillespie, for coming on Coaching in Session. Great conversation today.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. All right, everyone. I'd like to thank you so much for watching the interview with Cooper Gillespie and myself. As you can see, the journey of life is going to be one where we don't know all the answers. And it's okay not to know all the answers. It's okay to go through and be a little bit blind and not know what's around the corner. And I think everyone wants to be in full control of their life. But the moment you relinquish control and you understand that you don't have power in every second of your day. You get to view how you view every second of the day, but it doesn't mean that you have power every second of the day. So I encourage everyone to check Cooper out. All her socials are going to be in the description box below, again in the show notes, and you can begin to cultivate that relationship, because you're going to want someone on your side who's going to help you not only in the moment, but in the future. And I always say that you can help a person once, or you can help a person for a lifetime. And it's the same concept of you can teach a man to fish, or you can give a man a fish. And what I do and what I know Cooper does, even though she might not say it this way in the podcast, is she teaches you how to fish. She's going to help you understand that you have the power today, you have the power tomorrow. We don't have to relinquish it to anyone. We might feel a need to relinquish it. We might feel an urge to stop in our life, or to not push and to not challenge ourselves, or to challenge the status quo. You're going to have so many people who are looking down on you. You're going to have so many limits in your life. And I want you to understand that just because someone gives you limits or has limits in their life, that doesn't mean that they're your limits. So break free from the shackles that were given to you from a young age, or a middle age, or a teenager. It doesn't matter when you got those shackles. Understand that you are not enslaved to the words of anyone. Learn to empower yourself and learn to set yourself free, and learn how to fly unabated, where you can see your life. And then as you go toward that vision of what you have for yourself, what you envision is only a fraction of what you attained, because you are going to attain so much more by just looking at the positive, by just looking at something. Because most people in life, they don't even look at this goodness. They don't even look at what's possible. They just allow and they wish. They wait for someone to come save them. And I'm here to tell you that you have to be the person to take action today. I'm asking you to take action today. Whether you go to reardenconcepts.com, or you go to Cooper's website and Instagram, and you begin to ask questions. You begin to ask, how can I begin to make my life better? Because the goal is you. The goal is making sure that you're in the best place possible. Because if you're in a better place, the world's in a better place. Because if the world can shine, everyone will bask in the rays of the sun and feels warmth, feels love, and feels power. And that's the power that you have within you too. My name is Michael Rearden. I'm a mindset coach. If you have any questions, you can email me, coachinginsession@gmail.com. And I will see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone, take care.